Revolving triangle. Today we're going to take the spine in the other direction. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jimmy Barkan. For the first half of my career, the first 20 years, I was a Bikram yoga teacher, and I soon became Bikram's most senior teacher. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. Anytime you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. Any comments you have, I get to all the comments, put them down below. Right around the year 2000, 2001, I started going out and representing Bikram in the Yoga Journal conferences and the Omega conferences, and that's where I was exposed to other types of yoga, different postures from the top teachers from these particular styles of yoga. Now, I wasn't just subjected to the 26 and 2 sequence during my career, because 3 months into my practice back in 1980, I started doing Bikram's 91 posture advanced class, but they were still limited to postures from our style of yoga. So when I went out in these conferences, my eyes were open to a whole different type of yoga, and especially postures that take the body in a different direction. So recently I did a video called Difference Between Bikram and Barkan Yoga, and then I did another video where I talked about what I believe is missing in the Bikram Yoga 26 and 2 sequence. And one of those factors, one of those 3 things I believe is missing is taking the spine in the other direction. And a perfect example is revolving triangle. So for example, if you're doing the hot yoga triangle and you're always taking your spine in this direction every single day, now if you take that student and put them in the other direction, the way the revolving triangle goes, they're going to have difficulty because they're just not used to that range of motion. So I found that these different styles of yoga gave us a greater range of motion, or a different range of motion, which I believe is much better for the spine. So we're going to go to the studio in Pompano Beach with Heather, and we're going to go over not just the beginning modifications, but all the way up through to the advanced amplifications in detail. So let's head over to the studio and see what we can see. So now, with the lovely assist of Heather, because she does a really good revolving triangle, we're going to start looking at the position, how far your feet should be. So about 3.5 feet. The right foot is parallel with the mat, and the back foot is at a 45-degree angle. So you want to turn that foot out to 45 degrees because you're actually pushing against the back of that foot. One of the big mistakes I see people make in this pose is they turn their toes in too far to the center this way. And now she's not able to push off the back of the foot. So let's turn that foot back here. So the weight's on this knife edge of the left foot, and the big toe mound, which is right underneath here, of the right foot. Now she's grounded into the floor. So let's look at the first modification. This is if you're really tight, you're unable to rotate at all. You can just place both hands onto your shin, lift your chest, and that's it. But you got to be careful on this one, because if your front leg is straight, you don't want to hyperextend that front leg. So you still have a micro bend to the knee. All you're going to do is lift your chest, and there's the first modification. Here's the second modification. We're going to use a block. In fact, some of you that even are more advanced, you still may need a block because it depends on how long your legs are in proportion to your upper torso. So with the right leg out, the opposite left arm comes up. You always know it's the other side. The left arm comes up and over, and the first modification, you can place your hand on the top of that block with the back nice and straight. See how nice and straight her back was. Second modification, take the block from vertical to horizontal. And I like the block to the left of the foot. We'll talk about that later, why I like it there. So the left arm comes up, and down she goes, placing your hand onto the block. If you don't have a block, you can place it onto the shin, but once again, remember not to push that front leg back. You don't want to hyperextend the knee. So now we got the weight on the big toe mound of the right foot, the weight on the outside knife edge of the left foot. The next move, because we're working from the ground up, so the next move is the inner thighs come in. What they call an Anusara, the inner spiral of the inner thighs. This direction in. And then the tailbones are going to scoop, which is then going to lengthen her head to the front. I'm going to show you a better angle how that really works. And then from here, the foundation is set. She rotates lower, middle, upper back, and shoulder. And as a result of the upper torso and thoracic vertebra rotating, the arm comes straight up in the air. She spreads her fingers for this triangle, continues to think about
the foundation. Thinking about the weight here and that right hip coming back this direction. We want those hips to square. One of the biggest mistakes I see made in every single class that I teach is the way you're rotating the upper torso. So what happens is you start to rotate to the left and you start to shift your shoulders to the left, which creates a C shape right here. So what we got to do instead, we talked about the scoop before. She's going to scoop her tailbone and lengthen the crown of her head out to the middle of the mat. And all she's going to do now is to rotate off of this parallel axis. So now you can see there's no more C shape. This is a vertical line from her hip to her shoulder. And once again, the arm comes up as a result of the upper torso rotating. She spreads those fingers out nice and wide, and there's a beautiful revolving triangle. Now some of you, once again, it's not really necessarily an advanced position. It's really anatomically. Heather doesn't need to use the block because the proportion of her legs are in her upper torso. So no block this time. With the left leg out, the right arm comes up, and down she goes. Once again, we've magically turned to the other direction, so you can see it from the front angle. So, big toe mound, outside knife edge. The left hip comes back, the inner thighs work in. She scoops the tailbone and lengthens out to the middle of the mat so you can see that vertical line. And then the arm comes up as a result. Now have Heather bring her hand back down again. Let's take a look at the inaccurate position so you can see the other angle. If she were to rotate to the C shape again, this way, look at the C shape. Look where her head is. Her head's to the left corner of the mat. So instead, when she rotates out by scooping the tailbone, now her head is facing the front, it's facing you. And now she has that rotation. Look how beautiful that angle is. And then the arm comes up as a result. And then one of the main things you want to think about, pulling the left hip back, that's going to get you more in that vertical line and really pushing into that back foot. Make that a combination thought. Left hip back foot into the ground. Now, if you bring your hand flat on the ground, look what happens to our upper body. It's no longer tabletop. We want a tabletop spine, so go onto the fingertips. Even if you're advanced like Heather, you can go on your fingertips. That raises you to a tabletop position. And once again, one of the biggest corrections I make in my class is that people that don't have the full rotation, let's say you can only rotate this far. The biggest mistake, they look around and they see everybody else in class put their arm up in the air, so they do what I call the chicken wing. They go, I got it, I got that arm up, and all you're doing is torquing out the shoulder and killing yourself. So you're better off keeping your hand back onto the hip and working the rotation of this is as far as you can go. Don't bring the hand up. Keep it there. So let's look at the final full expression. Her left leg is out. That means her right arm comes up. She comes down with a flat back. She places her hand to the right of the foot. Big toe mound of the left foot, outside knife edge of the right foot. Inner thighs rotate in, left hip back. Scoops the tailbone, lengthens out, rotates lower, middle, upper back shoulder, and as a result, the arm comes up. Spread the finger wide, and there is a revolving triangle.
So that's our episode for today. Isn't Heather amazing in her position? She's got that long torso and the long legs. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any comments, questions, or struggles in this pose? This is one of the most difficult postures to do, especially if you're coming from the Bikram world. Put them down below. I get to all the comments, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye, everyone.